After a relaxing morning of pom-pom, we are frizzy and fresh and ready to get back in the bag, take you out into the city and show you one of Hanoi's most iconic and famous locations. Today, we're off to Nha Hat Lun, Hanoi, or most commonly called in English, the Hanoi Opera House. It's a beautiful place and has been really important for over 100 years of Hanoian history. We have like double the size of the intern team today because the two main interns that work for me, they're getting pictures taken for some, whatever that human ritual for mating for life thing they want to do. Whatever, that's not important. What is important, however, is getting the team mobilized and out on the road as we don't have all day. One bike with 2 in yours truly and another bike with 3 in the gear, and we are off to the races. It was a short drive, but you gotta keep the fluff alive, as they say. Now as we head over, let's take in a little bit of context. Construction started in 1901 and lasted just over a decade until 1911. This was done by the Imperial French, of course, and they modeled it after Palais Garnier, or however you're supposed to say that in French. The inside is also real nice. Apparently, they won't let me in for some reason that I still can't figure out, so finding out about that is up to you. Being located so close to Hoan Kem Lake, the Red River, and the main roads that go by them, this means that this has been an important piece of real estate for a long time. And as such, that means it's been really important for a lot of cultural development and history in the city throughout the years, as we'll learn a little more about later. And I was surprised to find out. Apparently human tour guides are a thing too. Right next to the Opera House is an incredibly mediocre by Vietnamese standards cafe, but it does provide a nice place to hang out in the shade, drink some cool water, and get out of the blazing sun for a little bit. I let the interns goof off and take their own photos for a little bit while I went and did a little bit more rugged exploring. A little more off the beaten path, you could say. And maybe a little peeing on trees. Who's to say? And while I take a quick break, you can all take a last look around. Now, while we've already mentioned just how significant this place has been over the years for cultural development, it should not be understated just how important it's also been for societal, historical, and political developments over the last century. As since the 100-odd years that this building has been standing here, the Vietnamese have managed to fend off French, Japanese, and American colonial endeavors. Once we had lost our light, we decided to get some food in the bellies of these interns and, you know, wouldn't mind a snack myself. And this is where we ended up for Bit Tet. Now, the exact origins of Bit Tet can be somewhat murky, but what we do know for sure is that etymologically, Bit Tet comes from the French word beefsteak, or what in English would be beefsteak. Now, we know for certain that the French and the Belgians had steak frites and that the British had steak and eggs, but how they came together to be mixed in this new Vietnamese fusion is a little bit up to legend at this point as far as I'm aware. Bít tết is almost always served with bánh mì, the Vietnamese style baguette, and here we have sot vang, which we'll get to shortly. Now let's break down just what bít tết is. So, on a hot iron skillet, we start by cooking a small piece of beef, French fries, tomato, pate, beef and tomato gravy, and an egg that will poach in the gravy as it's brought to your table. And put on your table is a still sizzling skillet of goodness. Now let's get back to sot vang. Always served with the bánh mì and with chili oil to taste. Sot vang translates to grape or red wine sauce. This is beef stock, a bit of tomato, and a red wine sauce stewed with beef tendon. And as I'm sure all of the cool, hip, young people would say nowadays, there's no doubt that bít tết is dank, but perhaps, just maybe, bánh mì sot vang is dankier. Well, that's it for us this week, so make sure to lick that like button and cost, subscribe, and whatever. Later, nerds.